custom private adventure right out here in the heart of the South Carolina Low Country. Took a couple clients out today on our top tour to find some incredible fossils. All of these, for the most part, are dating back 28 to 30 million years old. There are some younger ones and ones with different age ranges, and I'm going to point those out whenever we get to them. And if you're interested in going on a trip just like this, you can check out our website. It is linked in our profile, and just look at that custom private adventure for a day as fantastic as this one. So we're going to start first right up here in our marine mammal bones. These primarily going to be from things like whales and dolphins, bits of rib bones and skull chunks right here, and then two of the lumbar or the lower back vertebrae right up there. So we can see remnants of that symmetry right there on the bottom or the ventral side. And this one, even though he's a little worn, we can still see where the transverse processes went off on the sides and the neural process stood up on top of the vertebra. Right down here we have our trace fossils. So we've got a few different piles of those. These are what we call steinkerns. So a steinkern is essentially where something like a clam shell fills in with sediment. You can see that lovely little football-shaped cross-section. The clam then dissolves away when the rock is solidifying. There's one from a mussel. This really nice example of one from a snail, one of our carnivorous snails. And the shell itself dissolves away while sediment inside is solidified. So we get these lovely little copies. These two, the flat ones, are from our carrier snails in the genus Xenophora, because they actually stick other little organisms to the outer part of their shells. And that's a species still around today, which is pretty cool to see their 30 million year old ancestors. Right over here, these little button-shaped ones are the solitary coral that we get primarily from the Ashley Limestone Formation, that 30 million year old deposit. Next up, we have a piece that is the actual shell that remains. This one, a scallop filled in with the limestone. So if you're ever out on a beach and you see a really cool seashell and on the inside of the shell is rock, then you know it's going to be fossilized. Lovely preservation on that one as well. Moving on down here, we have our fish category. So we've got two pretty neat vertebrae. This one, a very large caudal peduncle vertebra from a swordfish. So all of that gobbledygook is a fancy way of saying the vertebra at the base of a swordfish's tail. They have all of these zigzagging articulations that help rigidly interlock the vertebra, and that's what gives the swordfish, the tuna, the marlin, that really stiff kind of paddle motion to propel them through the water and hopefully get away from something like a mako shark. So that is a really nice one. More common fish fossils that we often find are fragments of the rostra or the swords. And then these bones over here, the long skinny ones, are the fin ray bones. So originally a 1 to 2 foot long bone running up the length of the tail. Brenda, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you leaving a comment and checking out what we found today. Next up, an amazing variety of shark vertebrae here. So these are the calcified cartilage from the middle of shark verts. So they are missing a little bit, as all shark verts are. So if you want to get technical and split hairs, these are the centra. But because we have the two openings on the top and the bottom, we can tell these are the Carchariniformes order of sharks. Think of our tiger, reef, and snaggletooth shark on those. Now we also have some bigger ones, and we can see those lovely columns connecting the two sides. That tells us these are from the Lamniformes order of sharks. So our great whites, our makos, sand tigers, threshers, and the megalodon lineage. Which, speaking of, this one, probably a juvenile Angustodon's vertebra, that grandfather to the meg, and that one coming from an adult of that genus and species. So Looks a lot like a rock or a piece of wood from that angle, but if you see those growth lines, it can help you identify that down as a vert. Next up, we have our sea turtle shell. So today we got all loggerhead sea turtle. I'd feel pretty confident saying that we got 3 of the genera that are represented here in the Low Country. This really thick one with the smooth top side, really thick there in the cross section. That's most likely Achilles, one of the big loggerheads. Next up, we have this one. That is Caroline Achilles. So, sea turtle shell making up the top shell of the carapace. Beautiful ripple pattern right there, and the scute lines where the scales sat on top of the shell. And then lastly, our smallest loggerhead. This one from the edge of the shell, you see that nice really pointed keel? That's from Ashley Achilles, named after Lord Anthony Ashley Cooper, where we get the 2 river names from as well. So one of the original Lord Proprietors of Charleston. So 3 loggerhead sea turtles on that. Next up, we have our stingrays. So they got what we call stingray bingo. 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of ray teeth from our big groups. We have the bat rays here with the really thick, tall crowns that often have a shiny enameloid on the chewing surface. Next up, we have the eagle rays, which are usually some of the biggest teeth that we can find in the ray group. Next up are the devil rays, which are the most ornate and delicately structured teeth. And then lastly, we have our cow-nosed stingrays, which are those really flat, kind of Jane Doe, John Doe, anonymous teeth of the stingray group. And then the extra bonus in there as well, we've got a stinger, or the tail spine of a stingray, a couple of little barbs preserved up on that top edge as well. All right, it's finally time to get into the sharks. So we've got a lot of shark teeth here that we're going to look at all of these categories. First up, we have the reef sharks. You can see these are pretty small teeth. And some in there are actually really, really tiny. There's a super small one. These are all from adult sharks, and there's about 35 species alive today in this group that I'm unfairly lumping together with one word when I say that's a reef shark tooth. A lot of shape diversity in there. So more broad triangular ones. We have ones with more of a broad root and a narrow crown. Another triangular one right there. So things like that, something like a bull or a dusky, those are really hard to tell apart. So often these just kind of all get lumped. Next up in this column, we have the extinct tiger shark teeth. Now, there are 2 different genera of extinct tigers we get here in the Low Country. The first is represented very nicely by this one. That is called Physogalius contortus. So the long-toothed tiger with that thick, twisted, or contorted crown, hence the scientific name. And then we compare that guy to this one, which has a broader crown and compound or complex serrations right there on the short side of the tooth. That's the ancestor of our modern tiger shark, Gallicerdododuncus. So 2 excellent examples from an excellent take on the tigers. Next up, everyone knows this is one of my favorite categories, are these snaggle-tooth shark teeth. Hemipristis is the genus. And recently, as in this year, there was a publication that came out actually describing an Oligocene species called Hemipristis intermedia. So Hemipristis sera, think of these guys coming from the Miocene through the Pleistocene. But recently, ones that are much smaller or that have a few unusual features to the lower teeth coming from a potential new species. Upper teeth curved and serrated on these guys, lower teeth long and pointed, so they're clutching in the bottom jaw and slicing in the upper jaw. Next up, we're going to move to some younger shark teeth. These two right over here are the great whites. So, kind of have a juvenile tooth represented there, an adult tooth right there. These will date between 11,000 and 5 million years old for our modern species. Jumping over here real quick, we also have 3 teeth from the extinct or the ancestral great white shark that doesn't have a serrated edge to its teeth. Next up, this grouping has the mako sharks. Really beautiful preservation on that one, coming straight out of the limestone. Very similar looking, but a lot more gracile, a lot more slender and fragile looking are the sand tiger sharks. And they, of course, do have the cusplets when they are preserved nicely, still on the edges. Next up, getting into some of the big ones here, we have an excellent lineup of the angustodons. So that is the 24 to 30 million year old predecessor of the megalodon shark. One of the more common members of the lineage here in the South Carolina low country, thanks to the limestone formation that we keep mentioning, as well as another Oligocene deposit called the Edisto Formation, and then a third called the Chandler Bridge Formation, all spanning 6 million years of time from this shark's existence. This one is one of the nicer examples of the day, and we still have the limestone attached, which is excellent provenance. We don't want to clean that off. It tells us how old this is and where it came from. And then we also have these 2 cusplets preserved still on the side of the crown, little extra grabbers to go after these small prey. Now, all of these on this row right here are the juvenile teeth. This is an example of the root lobe of an adult tooth. So you can see a little cusplet right there, and this section, that crack in the root, can show you a comparable crack right here on the edge of this tooth. So that's kind of how we can identify this belonging to a shark tooth rather than just another rock. One other rather nice find in this category is this little posterior tooth, which if we kind of stick him over here next to the reef sharks, it would be easy to lump it in there. But the tell on this one is that it has an incredibly humped up root, so it's a lot thicker than our reef sharks. And then also those serrations are much coarser on these teeth. It's a little hard to tell on the live stream, but it's a lot more serrated than our reef sharks. Lovely, lovely posterior. Next up, we have 3 teeth from the megalodon. So these guys dating roughly 3.6 to 16 million years old. So ironically quite a bit younger than everything else we found. Fun story on this one is all we saw sticking out of the ground was that, just the corner of the root, so you never know how much is going to be attached. Next up, a tooth from the false mako shark, Paratotus. We do not have a species name on this guy yet because the Oligocene member, the one 24 to 30 million years old, is still waiting on its publication. So hopefully sometime in the future we can share that name. Right over here we have a nice little upper tooth from a lemon shark with that more capital T-shaped structure. Next up, itty bitty tooth right down there is from a sharp-nosed shark. Picking up those reef sharks help you find ones that are a little rarer, a little harder to find. Next up, 3 excellent examples of hammerhead shark teeth. Smooth outer margins of the crown, lovely right angle notch on that short side, the distal side of the tooth. And often when we flip these over to the labial view, we get a better look at those features. Excellent examples. This one is an anterior tooth from a thresher shark out of the species Alopius vulpinus, which just so happens to be one left around in the oceans today. And then moving up to the top row of fossils and finds, we have this guy, which is a little limb bone from a marine reptile, possibly something like a sea turtle or a crocodile. But what makes this one extra cool is right here on the edge, you can see that little shiny thing right there. In the limestone, there was a barracuda tooth that got fossilized right next to this bone. A lot of people out there probably want to say, oh, the barracuda bit the crocodile, but no. When we see them like this, they're usually just preserved next to it in the rock formation. Speaking of rocks, we also have this guy, which is a slightly translucent, what we call quartz discoid. So this is a special little quartz pebble that comes out of a couple fossil deposits down here in the low country. Both of those dating roughly 24 million years old. So it's always fun to see these out on the river. Next up, something that looks like a rock but isn't. These are the coprolites. Everyone knows that's also one of my favorite things to find. These are fossilized poop from the intestines of sharks that died. Still had stuff in them. They sank down to the bottom of the ocean, and the intestines held this stuff together long enough for it to fossilize in the first place. So especially on one like this, we can still see the intestinal structure really well. There's that detail. We also get these from rays and fish. And our last category and our youngest category is from the Ice Age. So both of these fossils are going to be 11,000 years old at the minimum, 2.5 million at the maximum. And then I'd say probably a solid 100,000 years old based on our common Ice Age deposits here in this part of the low country. So first up, this guy, that's a piece of American mastodon tooth enamel. You can see really thick enamel there, about 4 to 5 millimeters. And those diagonal lines are the growth pattern of the enamel. It's called the Hunter-Schreger lines, very similar to the Schreger banding that we see in ivory. Beautiful color on that one. And then this guy is another turtle shell. We can see the scute line up on top and down on the bottom. It's the edge of a shell, probably from a trachemes type of pond or slider turtle. So not sea turtle. A lot of people find these on southeastern beaches and think, oh, sea turtle shell. But most often, more often than not, these are from the Ice Age pond box turtle semi-aquatic species that were roaming around here. So overall, a fantastic day, a wonderful collection, headed off after several hours of collecting. Now, if you're interested also in the custom private, everyone gets an autographed copy of my family's field guide, which will help them identify more bones and shark teeth all across the Southeast, from Texas to Florida to New Jersey. So that is included along with a full catered lunch from Publix. If you guys are interested, again, check out all the info in the video description and the profile on our page. So, as always, guys, we wish you happy hunting. We encourage you to collect responsibly, and we'll see you next time.